Welcome to the Success in Africa podcast with Dr. Modupe, your weekly dose of leadership vitamins to make you successful in Africa.
Hello and welcome to the Success in Africa podcast, episode 17. My name is Dr. Modupe Taylor Pierce, and I am a scholar and practitioner of leadership and organizational development. Simply put, I study what makes people successful. I have been doing this for 3 decades now with a particular focus on people in Africa. And in this podcast, I will share with you stories, insights, and knowledge about what it takes to be successful in Africa. Why this podcast? Because I am sick and tired of Africa being the poorest continent in the world. We are home to the greatest resource, young people. In the next few decades, Africa will have the largest number of working age people in the world. And when those people become successful, watch out. Africa's wealth will be unparalleled. Why? Because I don't know of too many Africans whose goal in life it is to die poor. You see, success in life is simply the achievement of a predetermined goal. Whether that goal is creating employment for 10,000 people or transforming your country into a high-income country, this podcast has been created to help you to achieve it. So if you are serious about achieving success in Africa, I want you to subscribe to this channel. If you like this video, after you've watched it, click the like button. This podcast is brought to you courtesy of BCA Leadership, the largest leadership enhancement company in Africa. If you have questions that you want me to answer after watching this video, just log on to BCA Online. The link is on the screen and post your questions there. That is where I will respond to your questions. In the last episode, we explored the difference between a charity and a business, and we learned that it is important to do your research to understand the market and then to also expand geographically to achieve economies of scale and then to partner with people who are smarter than you. Today, we are exploring a similar subject, taking it from a slightly nuanced view. Instead of looking at it as a charity, we will explore someone who started a business due to a passion that she had for the problem that she is solving. Nankhonde Kasonde van den Broek is the Zambian daughter of Dr. and Mrs. Joseph Kasonde. Dr. Joseph Kasonde was a renowned Zambian physician who not only served as the Minister of Health, but was also a decorated health researcher and entrepreneur who co-founded the largest teaching hospital in Zambia, an institution that continues to serve the people of Zambia today long after the death of its founder. Nankhonde was not interested in a career in medicine and pursued a career in international development, working for international NGOs, and then becoming passionate about leadership and becoming an executive coach and trainer, serving clients in multiple countries in Africa. Her passion for leadership was born out of her experiences in Zambia, her observations of what leadership was doing in Zambia, and her experiences in supporting international development in other countries in Africa. Her experiences made her into a passionate Pan-African with a deep desire to change Africa through leadership. This desire even left her feeling frustrated with executive coaching because, as effective as executive coaching was, in her opinion, the coaching moved too slowly to change the continent. This is what she said. This one-on-one coaching, Modupe, will not be sufficient to change Africa because there are not enough coaches to coach all the leaders who need to be made aware of their gaps and given support to improve these leadership gaps. This is what she once shared with me. Now, Nankhonde's frustration and passion led her to seek other ways to create awareness of the leadership deficiencies of leaders in Africa. After conducting and commissioning research into the problem, she landed on a solution: a psychometric assessment tool that was culturally sensitive and designed for leaders in Africa. This assessment tool would provide leaders in Africa with reliable and valid data about their leadership strengths and weaknesses and areas for improvement, as well as areas for reinforcement. Zanga Metrics was the name she gave to this tool. It was designed with extensive research from world-class leadership scholars and tested before it was eventually deployed. Now, Nankhonde is a born-again Christian, and a conversation with her about her business invariably elicits responses that point to her faith in God. When I asked her about how she determined that Zanga Metrics was going to be a business and not a charity, her answer was both philosophical and businesslike. She said, and I quote, "I knew I had a business because God told me that what I was doing would be used to provide kingdom financing." She said. She continued, "I am supposed to be wealthy through this vehicle, not because the money is going to be mine to hold, but mine to purpose and bring out and manifest." When I pushed her further on how she had raised money for the business, she shared that Zanga Metrics had generated some initial funding from the Tony Elemelu Foundation, and also that she and her husband have put in seed capital into the business. The research data that she had already collected about the market size was enough to convince her and her husband that the upside potential of Zanga Metrics was significant enough to justify the initial investment that they have made. The Zanga Metrics assessment tools, both the individual assessment and the 360-degree assessment, are priced competitively against some of the global competitor tools and have the added advantage of being adjusted for African cultural dynamics that are important for any leader operating in Africa. You see, the nature of the pricing model is that Zanga Metrics is similar to pricing for pharmaceuticals. Much of the cost of the tool is already baked into the research and the development, and that is an upfront cost. After the tool has been researched and developed, the production cost of each iteration of the tool is negligible, meaning that this tool can be priced low enough to be attractive enough to everyday leaders in Africa and yet generate sufficient gross margin for the R&D capital expense of Zanga Metrics to be recouped in a reasonable amount of time. Now, the company is called Zanga African Metrics, and as a company, it's still in the infancy stages, and it may not generate the kind of kingdom financing profits that Nankhonde believes it will. It hasn't done it yet. But the tool itself is already creating an impact in Africa. I have personally taken the leadership assessment tool myself and found that it helped me to identify gaps in my leadership performance, gaps that I have taken steps to correct for the benefit of my organization and my team. What can we learn from Nankhonde and her journey with the development of Zanga Metrics and the business that the tool has created? There are 3 lessons. Lesson 1, follow your passion. In entrepreneurship, your why, W-H-Y, your why, is the fuel that will ignite your progress and propel you through the challenging times when your new venture inevitably runs into obstacles. Ndidi Nuleli of Leap Africa describes your passion as that thing that pisses you off the most. She often asks, what makes you most upset? What is it about Africa that pisses you off. See, for Nankhonde, her passion is helping leaders in Africa recognize that they have improvement areas to work on. She gets pissed off about leaders who don't know and they don't know that they don't know. And the tool that she has created, it was created to create awareness amongst these leaders, not only of their deficiencies, but of the specific areas so that they can work on them. This passion has fueled her journey of research into the problem and the opportunity, and frankly, inspired her to invest her time, her talent, and her treasure into it. So, lesson number 1, follow your passion. Second learning point, do your research. You see, like Cyril Conchu of ENCO Education, just look at the last episode in order to find out more about that. Nankhonde did not jump headlong into the business without first doing her homework to understand the nature and the size of the opportunity, and to understand the market, and to understand the product and the service that would fit the market, and to understand how to create that product in a sustainable manner. You see, she invested time and resources into this before she launched her product. That's the second lesson. Do your research. Third lesson, engage with partners to grow your business. Zanga Metrics has partnered with other organizations to spread the word about this tool. You see, Nankhonde is aware that making her tool a household name amongst leaders in Africa will take a lot more resources and time than she has in her bank account or time that she has in a day. And she is intentional and generous about establishing mutually beneficial relationships and partnerships with other organizations in and outside Africa to expand the awareness of the tool and make it more available to more leaders in Africa. You see, from the Tony Elemelu Foundation to the African Development Bank to BCA Leadership, that's Africa's largest leadership enhancement organization, Zanga African Metrics is establishing collaborative relationships and partnerships with credible institutions in Africa to make the tool more available to more leaders in Africa. Indeed, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. 3 lessons that we can learn from Nankhonde. Number 1, follow your passion. Number 2, do your research. And number 3, engage with partners. This brings us to the end of our podcast today. I look forward to reading your comments and feedback about this podcast. Next week, we are going to start a new 4-part series on entrepreneurship in the non-profit sector. There are fascinating lessons to learn for successfully creating non-profit organizations. Many of those lessons are actually universally applicable to whether you're trying to create a for-profit or a non-profit, but some of them are going to be unique. So please join me as we start this new 4-part series next week. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and like this video. Tell your friends about it. Together, we can transform our beloved continent. See you next week.
Tomorrow belongs to those people who prepare for it today. See you next week.